Welcome back. In this experiment, we are going to see advanced features of your JavaScript. Especially, we are going to see about how to add styles using your JavaScript and perform animations using JavaScript. So there are going to be two questions for you. One is going to be changing the background color based on your selections and changing the dimensions of a particular thing. Basically, we are going to change the CSS properties using JavaScript. This is going to be your question number one. And the question number two is going to be importing an image and creating a sort of animation using your JavaScript. So expected outcome is going to be like this. So click of a button, it should move from left to right, and when it hits the end point, it should prompt a particular message. So quickly we'll see how these things could be done. So first part, I will speak about your styling using your JavaScript. That is how to change your CSS properties using your JavaScript. So let's quickly jump into the program. Here we go. I have two buttons out here. I'm creating it out, and there are multiple ways to change a property of the CSS using JavaScript. However, I'm going to use two ways. One is using your get element by ID, and second thing is going to be your query selector. So let's check out the first thing using your get element by ID. So I create a button, and on click of a button, I'm going to call a function, say by ID, and here I'm going to call this particular function. And in this function, I'm going to change the background color using my document.get element by ID. So this will fetch me the particular uh, ID's properties. Here page one refers to the entire body. Okay, so the entire body tag, I have given it as page one. So then I used a property called style, and in the style property I'm going to use the unique property called background color. So when I do this, so on click of a button, the background color should go to red in color. And initially also I have kept any styles. No, I have not specified any class thing. uh, I have specified a class, okay, for keeping a background color. So earlier it is going to be this peach puff color, right? So I'm going to keep the background color as such. So on click of a button, it should change it to red. So let's quickly try this out. Let me go to my page and refresh. If you could see, the peach color is being displayed, and I have already created two buttons. And so on click of this button, the background color should change to red in color. So this is how I'll be able to change any CSS properties using your get element by ID. So where do I use this? This is going to use for a particular tags where a unique ID is being used. So I can, if I want to perform it for a targeted uh, element or a property, right? So I can go ahead with this particular declaration, document.getElement by ID. Now I'll quickly go into your second part. So let me have another button. So click off a button. I'm going to call this particular button. Here, however, I don't use get element by ID. I'm going to use something called as query selector. So what this facilitates is I'll be able to select any CSS selector. Okay, let it be a universal selector, let it be a group selector, descendant, whichever selector it might be. I'll be able to select it out and declare it here, and I could individually change the properties of this particular one. Okay, say for example, if there is going to be a query selector class, say for example my class. Okay, so if I want to change the color in this particular class, yes, it's possible. Okay, I can give style, and this particular CSS alone will be edited, and I'm going to apply the color. So let me check it out once again. Let me give a demo to you. Let me go over here to my browser. Let me refresh. Default peach color should be coming in. and when I'm going to click this particular button, the color has changed to your yellow color. The same is valid for any other CSS. So you can say style dot color for changing the font color, right? And if you want to increase the width, you can say style dot width, and you can give the corresponding values which you want to do. So all those operations are possible with your JavaScript, and modifying the CSS is possible. So here we have introduced two things for you. In summary, I can tell you can use get element by ID as well as you can use query selector. And for both the things, you are supposed to use the properties called dot style dot and the corresponding styles of the CSS which you use here, right? So you could see a lot of things available, right? Say if you want document dot query selector off. Okay, let me quickly copy it down, and I'll show you like how many queries are, how many CSS properties are available. See, dot, there are like multiple things are available over here, right? So here you can go and give lots of thing, right, for the properties and other stuff. Even if you want, you can go over here, try out here if you want. Say, let me copy it once again, and let me try it with the, say, your get element by ID, right? So here you can see what all the various properties that are available. See, borders, right? All these CSS style declarations are available. Borders, all the things which you could imagine is out here, right? So you'll be able to use those things also, right? So now with this said, now you could quickly map out to the question what is being asked, right? Go through the question, and certain events also is being called, not only on click, right? You are expected to use some other events also for this first part of the question. Now, I'll go to the second part of the question, wherein you are asked to create an spot of animation. So, animation in JavaScript, we can use, say, two major functions, predefined functions. One is set interval, and another is going to be set timeout. Okay, let me quickly share certain things about these set timeout and set interval. Okay, so set timeout is going to work only one time. Let me repeat once again. Set timeout works just one time, and it is going to call a function after a certain milliseconds. Okay, it executes a function after a particular point of time. Say for example, set timeout function in milliseconds. This is going to be an example. Then you might ask, sir, what is set interval, right? So set interval is the quite the opposite of timeout, I will say. Here it's going to be one time operation, here it's going to be a repetitive operation, right? It is going to repeat itself after these time milliseconds. So if I want to have something to be displayed for a certain amount of time, right, continuously, I can use this set interval. Okay, and you might ask uh, how I could stop certain thing which I have started with certain interval. Okay, say for example, I have made a program for incrementer where the number is being incremented continuously, and if I want to stop that, there is yet another function called as clear interval, and it is going to get a variable called timer variable. Where we'll see this what is this variable that we have to pass in for clear interval in a moment. Okay, so two user defined functions, one is set timeout and another is going to be your set interval. Now let me quickly go to your programs. First we'll check out set timeout, right? So how does it work? Okay, so all I have is in my body is going to be a button, and I'm going to have on click operation, I'm going to call a function called my stop function. Okay, I'm going to call a function. So what it's going to do is, my stop function is going to stop certain thing. Okay, say for example, I have created say clear timeout, and I have made it pass with my timeout. Let's see what this timeout is first of all. Right, so what I have done is I have created a default function called set timeout. Okay, let me repeat. So I have created a variable, constant variable, say my timeout. This is a reference point which is required. I'll tell you in a moment why it's used. And what it's going to do is, it's going to have the instance value of this particular method set timeout. Okay, and I'm going to call my function called my greeting. And this is going to work after, say, I wanted to work every 5 seconds, so I give it as 5000 milliseconds. So what this is going to do is, every 5000 no, after 5 seconds, this particular function is going to be called. Okay, and this runs automatically on loading because it's not in function, so I've declared it outside script. So when the page loads, right, so this is going to work. And what this particular my stop function is going to do is, this will stop my timeout function if it is required. Say before 5 seconds, if I want to stop it, right, so I can use this particular button in order for that to stop. So what does this function is going to do? My greeting, it's going to say my message, whatever message you want to do it, I'm going to put it in my a division tag here. Okay, now let's quickly save it out and try this thing out. So after 5 seconds, a message should have been popping in. Let's wait. You could see, right? Let me repeat it. So exactly after 5 seconds, this is going to come. Let me repeat it. Yes, after 5 seconds. Now, if I want this to stop immediately, what I could do, I just could call the stop function. So what it did do, the reference of that particular set timeout function is being passed in for stopping. Say my timeout is declared here and it is being passed out to clear timeout. So this will stop the operations. So where do I use this? If I want to set a timer, countdown timer, in those places we can use this set timeout function. Okay, so this is part one of your say your animation part. Right, now we'll quickly see your second part of your animation part, that is going to be your set interval. As I told, what is set interval? Set interval is nothing but, if I want to repeat certain thing after a certain time, you can call this particular function. Okay, so the same function which I have used for your timeout, I have used it here. Okay, there are going to be on load itself, it's going to call this particular say I'll rename it as my interval. Okay, and I have something called set interval, and I'm going to call this function for every millisecond. And in my greeting, what I do is, I have initiated the date class, and in this date class I'll be able to get the hours, get minutes, and get seconds. So what is it going to basically do? If I'm going to call my greetings, it is going to display my current hour, current minute, and the current second this particular function is going to get being called. Okay, so what does my interval going to do? So this function which I have created, my greeting, is going to be called every 1 second. Right, so every 1 second this particular thing is going to work. So this will be like an actual timer that is going to work. Okay, and what does my stop function going to do? This is going to get the particular value which I have assigned. Okay, the variable value which I have assigned, and this is going to stop my continuous function which is being called. Right, so this will stop my particular function which I have created. So now let me quickly run this program to you, and let's see whether it's working or not. See, it has fetched the current time, minute, and the second, and this is being called every second. That's why it's being displayed like this. And if you want to stop it, you can just press this button and you can say the interval is stopped. Okay, the interval is being stored. Now let me restart it. So the timer should start now. You might ask, sir, what if I want to change the millisecond value, right? Will it the time will be showing? Yes, there is no change in it. It will show for every 2 seconds instead of 1 second. Let's check it out. Right, you could see lots and lots of possibilities with this. Just a demo, I have given you a timer, whereas in real time you can increment something. Say for example, add the width dynamically such that the position of a image changes. Say for your question which is being asked, right, you can change the position of the x-axis and y-axis. In your questions asked only to move from left to right, right? What you could do is you can just increment the x value out there, right? So this will facilitate to move from the left corner to the right corner as you increment it, right? So this is how we can include your animations using your set timeout and set interval while using your css properties, right? So quickly we'll summarize what we saw. So we have seen your two ways of setting up your css properties. One is by document.getElement by id, another is going to be your query selector. And for animation part, we are going to use those css methods of your javascript as well as your set timeout and your set interval, right? I hope I have cleared all your things. For further queries we'll discuss in class. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.